might be live.
Did you click it? You gotta click it. It doesn't automatically go.
It started then.
So you didn't click it.
It's clicked. Trust me. People are hearing this. They're hearing you. They're hearing me. Ancient Chinese Barfy is here. Bartholomew. Bartholomew.
Meow. Bartholomew.
Before the show starts, I'll tell a quick story.
Mm.
Back in the days of Halo LAN parties and the original Xbox, I had never seen the name Bo written down before. So I had always, I'd seen Bo Jackson's.
Mm-hmm.
So I not already, but I had always assumed that Bo was B-O or at its wildest B-O-E, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were playing Halo with my buddies, and they brought their cousin, and we were all playing, and there was a character named B-E-A-U.
Mm-hmm. Like somebody's bow, yeah.
And I was like, okay. But so that's the first time I'd ever seen that word. So I was like, who is Bew? Who is Bew? Because he was really pretty good at Halo. I was getting pretty upset at this Bew character. And that was just his name. It was Bo, but it was spelled that.
Yeah.
And that was his actual name.
Huh. So his parents were like, let's name
B-A-U.
him Bo, but like let's do it like as if it's somebody's girlfriend.
But I always thought Bo was, for girlfriend, was B-O too. I don't know, man. I don't speak jive. I'm not a cast member of Airplane, the movie, the motion picture. Yeah, so I kept saying, Bew? Who's Bew? And I was literally sitting right next to the dude, and he was not like let's say somebody was sitting next to me and mispronouncing my name in an insane way, like I was doing to him. I would be like, do you mean me? Like, I'm not, keep in mind, my personality, I was literally calling out, who is Bew? Every time he killed me, which was very often. Didn't raise a hand, and I'm like, oh, and literally we played Halo that night for like between 4 and 6 hours, and it wasn't until the end we were packing up. He's like, oh yeah, Bo. And I was like, you mother, and I wanted to strangle him.
He just wanted to hear you mess up his name for that long.
Why?
So you felt like an idiot afterwards.
Well, I didn't feel like an idiot for like first 10 minutes. Shame on me. The next 5 hours and 50, was shame on him. The hell. Okay. So I guess, hey everybody welcome to the green room. We're just sort of kicking back, waiting until. How does it sound, everybody? Does it sound okay, like from back here? The chat room, the typing square died as soon as the show started, which is a good sign.
They were really enthralled in your Bew.
My Bew story?
Yeah.
Bew! It was a Bew-paw. Yeah. How would I say that when I was an idiot? Bew-paux? A real Bew-paux. Oh, gosh. Maybe we should start the show proper. I got to get a way to play the theme song here again.
Yeah.
But this computer, although mighty, has a problem with too many USB drivers, and I'm stretching it to its limit. Anyway, let me just go ahead and we'll just start the show. Hey everybody, it's me, Dave, and this is a live show from here. Let's pop on over to camera 2, probably up here. Boing, there's Krista.
I'm here on one of the chairs.
Special Friday the 13th. Woo! Flamingo Friday episode.
You didn't wear your mask.
Oh yeah, it's still hanging on the wall. I was gonna, well, whatever. You can hand me one, and I can do it after the fact, but the headphones are going to screw it up.
That's fine. I have my Camp Crystal Lake shirt on.
See, we got this. That's the perfect encapsulation right there. Flamingo Friday and Friday the 13th being the same day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, gosh, what a day, right? Flamingo Friday and Friday the 13th. Anybody see any murderers out there on the streets?
Kayla says, you always ask about the sound and you never sound quality and you never believe the answer.
I know, but I'm very insecure about sound quality, Kayla, especially on live stuff. Like, that's the thing. If I have the opportunity, if it's recorded and I have the opportunity to edit it, then I can say, oh, it's garbage, boom, throw it in the trash. But if this is live and it's sounding like ass, but here's the thing too, you guys also lie to me, because there are a few ones that I did delete that were lives that I was like, hey, how's it sound? And everybody's like, oh, aces, dude.
Very true. And we sound like we were in a toilet.
Yeah. Or the first, refresh my memory. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there was a show where we were like dead silent for the first 10, 20 minutes and no one said a thing.
It was just PJ. Everybody could just hear PJ.
Oh,
when we
yeah.
talked. We were playing a game and nobody could hear us.
Yeah. Also, that happened on a live show. The live show we did once on through Podbean. I'm going to have to work with that because I would like to do something live through them again. But what's happening? Believers. Oh, gosh. Okay, so here, I'm going to show you some weirdo junk I bought. So I bought some, I was talking about this in the Discord. I bought some ancestor money. I think this stuff is so cool. It's just big fake bills with you can buy so the ones I bought, this one has Lakshmi and this one has Kali, the two Hindu gods. But you can buy them with Malcolm X. Basically anybody you want, you can buy ancestor money. So the Kali one is $108 centillion bill, and Lakshmi, since she's the goddess of fortune, we got, oh god, it's $108 septillion.
Wow.
So, not to brag, but now I'm pretty rich in spirit money. And then, but the thing is, like, it's so pretty, and they sent me a lot of it. It was like $15 for like 30 bills a piece, each printing. And I realize now why, because you have to burn them. There's like a ritual you got to do to burn it so that it'll go transfer the money into the spirit world to pay off the karmic debts of the certain friend or family member that's dead.
Wow.
So
what about like real debts?
No, this only works for karmic debts. You have to be, because you have to be dead for it to cash in. That's the problem. You have to, because when you transfer it, it only goes to the spirit world. You can't do it here. Like you can't.
So like, can we burn one now for us later?
No, someone has to do it
like a savings account up there.
Well, because you have to. I imagine, I have not looked into the ritual yet. Full disclosure, but I imagine the ritual entails something that ties the burning of the money. You have to earmark it for the person you're burning it for. Yes.
So like burning a piece of their hair with it or something weird.
I don't imagine you're probably going to be able to do that because you're burning it for your ancestors. Like you're not keeping like the bodies in the bag. You shave a little off every time you burn a little bit of the money. No, there's probably a ritual that says, this goes to so-and-so, and you go, whoa. I wonder if it's like flash paper. That'd be awesome. Flash paper ancestor money. Phew, magic, right?
It could be.
I'm sure it isn't, but that'd be cool. And plus, I'm not sure if I want to burn it. It's so nice looking. But I've got so many of them. Now what do I do?
Athena's never heard of it.
I just gave you the rundown.
Right.
Ancestor money is like a lot of Asian cultures are tied to it. So oftentimes what you'll do for Buddhism or the like, you do the ritual and you burn it, and it pays off the karmic debt of your ancestors. Depending on your mythology, you're basically buying them out of purgatory or wherever they are, sort of resting faster.
And like, so they're. Are you just assuming that they're in purgatory? So you're like, oh well,
presumably you're doing it for
just in case
your lineage. So anybody in your lineage, you're doing it. That's the thing about magic. It's like, well, what does it actually do? I don't know. Beth, you're killing me with that shit. Buddhism.
Buddhism.
Bueller.
Barfy Buddhism.
Barfy. Yeah. So I don't know. I think these are cool and cute. So
Kayla says it sounds eerily similar to how Ferengi prays.
Yeah, it's also very similar to the Catholic indulgence sort of system. But you're buying yourself into a better position. This you're paying for your ancestors, being like, hey, whatever God's will. I don't know why you would put Malcolm X on one though. The store I bought these, the Etsy store I bought these from. In addition, they had all the the Egyptian gods, the Hindu gods. They had some other saints and stuff. And then there was just like Malcolm X doing like one of these to camera. And there was some with Bruce Lee, and there was ones with Jesus. And it's whatever. It's whatever you want. It's any flavor of the bow. Plenty of weird stuff out there, new age wise. So now that all that garbage is out of the way, I wrote down a list of 10 things that I can talk endlessly about that we can base a show off of. And I'll let you guys choose one, or if something grabs me, you may not get to choose. So we can always talk about philosophy. That's one of my bags. Photography, another P word. The Law and Order show SVU. We can always talk about that. Jack the Ripper, I can always go on endlessly about. Dante's Inferno and the first chapter and a half of the Purgatorio, maybe. Anything true crime, anything mythology. We can talk about mysticism, the Ninja Turtles, or To Catch a Predator. I think I kept it 10 because otherwise this show would have been a list of the shit I could go on about endlessly.
Yeah, he didn't even put dinosaurs on there.
Yeah, dinosaurs I feel like is a layup. So these are the things that are most interesting possibly to other people, because we've got murder, we've got basically a lot of murder. Jack the Ripper, SVU, Dante's Inferno, stuff like that. Say what?
Say what? His words are pretty clear. You're cutting in.
Cutting in and out. I misread that.
Can everybody else hear us? I can turn my phone off the Wi-Fi. Well, we're plugged in, so that shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, the problem is this mixer is also dying, I feel. So that's another thing that I'm having to deal with. So sorry about it. But does that list appeal? Anything on that list appeal to anybody? We can chat it up. I haven't read Dante's Inferno in a while, though. I've been feeling the tug of going back to it because it is one of my favorite books. But maybe it's been probably 15 years since I tried reading the Purgatorio. Okay, so it's just you, Vathis. So tighten up.
Tell Barfy, your manager, to get you better internet.
Yeah, tell manager Barfy you need to fatten those internet pipes. Anyway, what was I talking about? Dante's Inferno. Yeah. It's real good. I recommend the not the Pinkerton, it's like Pinsky translation from like the 90s or whatever. It's the most digestible, but the Wordsworth is nice for classic enthusiasts like myself, not yourself. I don't know what you want.
We should talk about true crime. I feel like that's like I don't know.
You feel like that's an I don't know?
Well, because I don't know much about Dante's Inferno and stuff like that to talk about, for you to have more than your own conversation about it.
Well, that's why I'm asking in the chat or the typing square, because everybody can throw in their
typing
2
square.
cents. Maybe you have questions about any of those things, or maybe here's the thing: we got a hidden option. I got to move this thing to if you want to talk about something, we can do that.
Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno. Because I'm also up to, if anybody is interested, we could talk about alternate characters of fanfic that we could put into a Dante's Inferno style situation. I'm open to that. Like if we wanted to hypotheticalize let's say if we did Face Off remake, but instead of Travolta and Cage, who would we put in? I'm fine with doing that for this or Dante's Inferno. Dante's Inferno. Where am I going to hang this? Britney Spears count as true crime. You want to? I don't know anything about Britney Spears. If you want to talk about Britney Spears, you're gonna have to walk me through it. I have been only seeing the whatever the.
Well, her conservatorship or whatever it was with her dad. I don't know if that's really true crime because nobody's died.
Well, whatever.
But it is a crime that he controlled her life for the last God knows how many years.
Right, but that's the thing. Like, that's just a tragic story. I don't know if that's true crime. Like, that's just shitty people.
Yeah.
But
I mean, she went batshit crazy for a hot second.
Right, because there was no way she couldn't. Like,
yeah.
Child stars, their parents are malfunctional, and they grow up to be, I mean, look at all of them. Casey Jones travels to the Inferno. You know what, Kayla? What if? Because I think Raph should go through the Inferno, and Casey should be his guide, right?
David just completely went off on a tangent.
Well, because this is a compelling argument now, because I don't think Casey Jones is necessarily compelling enough to carry, because who would be his mentor, right? I think if we get but you would have to be somebody because long dead, but if we're going freewheeling, this would be fine. So Raph is 35 and walking through the because that's how old Dante was in the Inferno. So he's walking through, let's say, the streets at night, and he gets lost. And there have to be some allegory for the panther and the lion and the yada, yada, yada. But then Casey Jones shows up and walks him through hell. I'd buy that. And then you could put all the all the villains all over the place in there. Because there's, tourist, scenic locations all over the place in that book. You can visit the Rat King, Krang, General Krug, what's his nuts, Gator, Leatherhead, the mechanical turtle, I can't remember his name, Bebop, Rocksteady, maybe have like a little area. Oh yeah, like, so there's one part in Dante's Inferno, right? I forget the sin, but it's all of these everybody's naked essentially in hell, but all these naked people are running around and they're surrounded by venomous serpents. And what happens is, if a serpent bites you, it's this horrifyingly painful transformation where the two swap, right? So the person who has been envenomated goes through this horrible body dysmorphia to become a serpent, and vice versa. So I wonder if I could just swap those out for like mousers. All these nude people running around, they get their dongs clamped on by mousers or their ass cheeks or whatever, something like that. Well, yeah, Baxter Stockman. He would probably be in it. So what circle of hell? Because we have to have what Ninja Turtles character committed suicide to go to the seventh circle?
Leonardo.
He didn't commit suicide.
No, he probably would. Out of all four of them, I feel like he's the most like.
No, you're insane.
Depressing one.
No. That's ridiculous. None of the turtles are even anywhere near that. Like, if you want to go, I mean, it depends on the incarnation, because there are times when it gets dark for Donatello. He carries the weight of the world with his intelligence. Yeah, Baxter Stockman's a good one though. Baxter Stockman is a compelling villain because he was just a guy who wanted to sell robots that ate mice. Like, he had a legitimate problem-solving solution in this thing, and he got shut down left, right, and center, and Shredder's like, hey, guess what? Now you're evil. And then he gets turned into a fly. Real tragic story.
See, Athena's husband agrees with me about Leonardo being the one. If anybody was going to, out of the four, Leonardo would be the one. I've only seen the one movie, which makes me think he would be, just because he's, like the leader guy, he's like the one that has the weight of the world on his shoulders, I think, when it comes to all four turtles. And like being, when Splinter's not there, basically being like the one that,
I don't know. If you want to talk psychology of the turtles, I think Leonardo is probably closest to whatever being an awoken turtle can be. Well, what? Oh, I don't know, man. The comics were not my bag. Comic book. Here's the thing: things I missed out on as a kid: comic books and video games, because those took like a revolving amount of money, and or parents who gave, into their kids' predilections. I had neither, so I was stuck with whatever hand-me-downs I get from my older cousins, which was, an NES circa 1993, like a year before the Super Nintendo came out or whatever. You get the hand-me-downs. But I feel like we're all over the place. Let's check in with the typing square while I take a nice drink from this flamingo thermos.
Vatha says, I mean, all the turtles would be in the third circle of hell anyway because of their gluttonous love of pizza.
I don't think they do it to excess, though, Vathis. I think their only sin related to pizza is canonically in the cartoons with all their zany ass ingredients and toppings and shit. Like, that's their only sin.
Isn't that all they eat, though? Do they ever eat something other than pizza?
In the cartoon, no. But in the movie, they have sushi, I think, if I remember correctly.
No, I thought she had sushi. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I thought they had pizza and she didn't eat the pizza. I thought April ate sushi, but I could be totally
who
wrong.
knows? That's the thing. Like, they were birthed in an age when feasibly you could eat pizza for every meal of the day and still be a healthy crime-fighting ninja, aka the 80s, where everybody was doing so much coke and making so much money and everybody was like, yeah, everything is through the roof. So yeah, but when you say... When your baseline is for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what's right and what's wrong here, right? Like, at least the insane toppings were consistent with the overall theme.
Yeah.
Because how can you take? The movie did its best taking them seriously, and they did it as believably as it could be. That being said, they also hid a lot of the time and stayed out of human eyesight.
Yeah,
whereas in the cartoons, all they did was throw on a fedora and a trench coat and go down to Ninja Pizza and literally be 6 inches from the dude who you can see a big green face and there's the different color
hands
bandana.
Are all weird.
Yeah, they got 3 green fingers and all that other good shit. I don't know. So but if we want to say the reality of the situation is the movie, because it takes place in actual New York, I'll say that's our baseline. Because also the cartoon has, it's like the ooze for the turtles is like kryptonite for Superman, in that it's like an endless MacGuffin, because canonically it's it's all been destroyed and they were the last of, or whatever, and there's always, there's more. There's always more, God damn it. There's, like, the Shredder always finds it. There's always gallons of it just laying around places, like, because kryptonite exploded. It should all be gone, but everybody can get their hands on it. It's, like, easier to get your hands on than a fucking penny in that universe, and it's the same thing with the ooze in the Ninja Turtle universe, I feel, because it's just like, especially by number 2, they didn't even wait to the third movie. It's like, number 1, there was one thing, and then in the second movie, it's like, oh, we found a whole shit ton of it. And because that's the crux of the second movie, is David Warner is the scientist for TGRI, and they find a bunch of mutagen that they just buried, and they figure it out because they have these enormous dandelions growing. They go, well, we fucked up. But I question, you're a huge scientific company and you're getting rid of a bunch of toxic waste. Why would you pre-package it into those individual little canisters and then throw those away? Why not get a bunch of huge barrels? But no, David Warner is tasked personally. I assume he's probably making 6 figures for this company. He's a David Warner level scientist. And he is the one tasked to manually, one by one, enter the serial numbers into the computer by hand, put the ooze into the thing. It gets slurped out into God knows where. Like, oh, just taken care of. It gets magicked away off screen. And David Warner goes, disposed, enter. And of course, it's always the last one. The last one where, David Warner takes the second or third longest look in the world. And he goes, the last one of these really dangerous mutagenic canisters of ooze. Well, good night, sweet prince. And I'll slowly turn. And there's Tatsu, grabs it right out of his goddamn hand. And, not for nothing, David Warner, but the soliloquy wasn't warranted. Like, how many of the other ones did you eulogize? Because they were put like this was, there was tractors and all kinds of machinery pulling out these canisters. And keep in mind, it's just David Warner one at a time. Clunk, tick, 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 disposed. And it wasn't even like the computer was literally doing anything for him. He was entering the serial number, doing the thing, sending the goo down the tube, and then having to enter disposed himself on the keyboard. Like, today, it would just be a matter of like, Siri, dispose of the mutagen, and it would all just happen.
Vatha says, gotta use up that budget or they take it away next year.
True. I guess, but like, why not be like, I get you have to get rid of the ooze because it is dangerous, a la the giant dandelion. But, okay, so I get that. But let's not say, hey, David Warner, you're our top scientist. Not only do you have to supervise the dig, not only do you have to like get out there with the hard hat and like do an interview with April O'Neil, be the public face of the company, like basically run the whole shit show. But then behind the scenes, when they're gonna back up a dump truck full of these canisters, basically onto your laboratory floor, you're gonna be the one to look at each canister, type in the random sequence of numbers and letters, put the slurp tube into it, goes, and then, like, because here's the thing, I can identify with that job. When I was an electrician, we had this huge soffit and fixture change of this enormous school. So they went from all, like those long fluorescent tubes to like CFCs and LEDs. So we literally, the company I worked for had a warehouse of 3-foot cool white fluorescent tubes and one equivalent of a wood chipper. And then one dude working that wood chipper, and I bet you can guess who that dude was. I spent 2 weeks of my life essentially feeding tube after tube after tube after 8 hours a day. And I emptied a full warehouse of tubes. And it was basically, this machine was incredible. It was just this thing that sat on top of a 55-gallon drum that was essentially a wood chipper. So it had a little socket or like a little tube for the long bulbs and wider ones for those weird shaped ones. And it had all the accoutrement. But here's the thing. You think, well, light bulbs aren't very heavy. So you're just feeding them one in after the other. And it takes a long time to fill up a 55-gallon drum with pulverized light bulbs. And by the end of it, those things weigh 250 goddamn pounds.
Wow.
So, like, the fun part was just throwing them down the hatch because I got to put in my headphones and just listen to podcasts or music or whatever.
Music.
Yeah, but keep in mind, it's also as loud as a throttling wood chipper. Mm-hmm. Because it literally is basically that. And so, but it also was the middle of summer.
Nice.
And so I'm just in this warehouse by one of these big old, garage doors like you see on a hangar. And I'm just there. And they still made me wear my fucking hard hat. And I resented that. I was just in a fucking warehouse pulling tubes off of a pallet that was beneath my head, and they made me wear my the safety glasses. I understood, I wanted to keep those, but I did not want to wear the hard hat in 120-degree weather in a warehouse where my head was nowhere near anything.
Well, if something can get in your eyes, it can go into your head.
Into what? No, like nothing.
Shrapnel.
If that's going to happen, it's going to go up through all the holes because it's, it's going to go blow into my face. The hard hat is not going to protect my head. But I was on company property and they made me wear it because it was OSHA regulated.
Rules.
Ugh, so annoying. That stupid thing. But, hard hats are mandatory.
Yep.
Also annoying. If you ever, not that I recommend it, but if you ever decide to get into the trades or any job where they make you wear a hard hat, you're going to run into several of these types of jackass who will ask you this question. Do you want to hear the sound of what it sounds like when two white turtles fuck? And you go, what? And then they'll take their hard hat and smash you on the head of yours. Bam! And it's hilarious. To them, it's hilarious. So if anyone asks you, not like this is advice to nobody, because nobody in this chat room is going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go be the electrician or a tin knocker or whatever, just so this situation will happen. But if you're ever in a situation where you're wearing a hard hat and somebody wants to ask you, whatever the color may be, if you want to hear them, if they want to hear some sort of turtle noise, what you do is strike. No, don't even say no. Strike first, because they're trying to be addicted. It's like the same thing dudes used to do. I forget how you trick them into it, but it happened. I saw it a dozen times on every job site where basically you trick the dude into standing still. You measure a part of them. You make them hold the measuring tape to their head. You hold it out, and then you let it go, and it hits them in the balls. Mm. There are so many ways of tricking someone into hitting themselves in the balls. It is exhausting. And you can only find all of them on every job site everywhere. Like, walk onto any job site. Just grab a vest and a hard hat. Get some safety glasses. Those are necessary everywhere because there's dust and dirt and stuff. Just trust me. If you're going to sneak onto a job site, protect yourself. Hard hat, safety glasses, safety vest. Watch out for the equipment. And just walk into any job site and say, hey, I want to figure out a way to make my friend hit himself in the nuts. And everybody will gather around and everybody will have at least 3 different scenarios, all of them ingenious and unique. I can't tell you how many times I got hit in the nuts by my own doing before I stopped. Because they're all like so it also depends on the acting of the person doing it. Because if you are working with a dude who's an idiot and not a good actor, they won't fool you into doing anything. But I worked with a dude, he was my helper, and he was also a speed freak. And he fell for every one of them. He'd go for the hydraulic flex bender. He'd go for every other nut and bolt that never existed, like in the moment that I could make up if I wanted to get rid of him. Because it would. Like, he was on speed. And so I would say, go get me, blah, 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 blah. And I knew that he would give it a good 15 minutes before he got frustrated and went off to do some more speed. But that would buy me like 45 minutes to an hour away from him. So, that I was thankful for.
Is speed like an injected thing, or is it?
I think, I mean, I don't know. I never saw him do it in front of me. He would always do it away from me.
Yeah.
But I imagine it was just meth. Everybody on the job site said he was on speed. I never saw him do anything, but I imagine it was probably just meth because it's cheap and it's easy.
Yeah.
But, whatever. He was never anything but helpful because all of his brain cells were burned out. He was almost like a wizard's familiar. I don't even know how to describe him. He was just this interesting character in his mid-40s, still living with his parents, rat tail intact, in and out of jail, and just the wildest stories out of this dude. Sometimes I miss the trades only for the stories. I think it's
the speed of smokes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, if you're on the job, the 2 things you find the most, like of the illicit substances, aside from booze, everybody's got a cooler in their truck or whatever, is either weed or meth. And you can always tell them apart, obviously, because usually right around lunchtime is when some dudes will slow way down and some dudes will amp way up. And I always stuck with the dudes who amped up because I liked working faster than most everybody I worked with wanted to go. So I would stick with the speedheads because they wanted to do stuff quickly. Like if I wanted to pull a run really quick, I would go to the dude who I knew was on uppers. But if I was into doing something as slow as possible, I'd go and find one of the potheads and have them as my helper. Because then I had a built-in
excuse of being like, I don't know why it's taking so long. He's taking forever.
Right. Well, not even like an excuse, but like a limiter, like a governor. Like if my job was NASCAR, if I wanted to go fast, I would get the Speed Freak, and that's like putting nitrous in it. But if I wanted to like put something behind the accelerator pedal, I would get one of the slow dudes to help me. And you know, just depending on the day. And if you know how to exploit people, you can be a monster like me. It's easy to exploit your fellow humans. I mean, but you know, to harmless degrees.
Right.
I would just exploit them for my own laziness. And one of the craziest things too, not that anybody cares, but we started like when I started being an electrician, everybody was still pretty much as they always have been, just old grumpy dudes doing jack shit. Drinking beer and eating garbage and doing the way they do and yada yada, like whatever. Like whatever, around 2005 to 10, everybody started getting, well, we should probably look into this, that, or the other thing. And they instated calisthenics at like after such and such year. And so every morning at every company I was at, unless it was like privately owned by a small like mom and papa organization, imagine like, because all the job sites are always in the middle of nowhere or always in the middle of downtown Phoenix or whatever. So it's always going to be a drive, and you have to start 3 hours before the sun comes up because it's still 96 degrees, but at least it's like a solid 96 degrees for 3 hours before it ramps up to 120. So you have to get to the job site at 4 a.m. On a summer day, autumn day, spring day, any day but winter. And so imagine getting up at 3 to be there at 4 to then do fucking jumping jacks and touching your toes and shit and hearing because like, keep in mind, just because you make these people do calisthenics doesn't mean they're going to change their lifestyle out of work. So it's a bunch of like people who are pathetic alcoholics or massively obese or all these other health problems. And now who are half-heartedly and half asleep, like doing these horrible, I was still relatively healthy at that stage in my life, so I was fine doing it. I was just annoyed by it because it's fucking 4 a.m. Like because they're like, oh, we're going to warm up. So when you get to work, you prevent injuries by warming up. And I want to be like, do you think at 4 a.m. anyone is cranking their knob all the way to 100? Like they're getting to work being like, yeah, let's do it to it. Like they've got all the, like, by now it's 4 a.m. and most of the dudes I worked with have already polished off their first monster and half of their second. Mm-hmm. It's not like these guys are going to like break into a sprint and pull a hamstring getting to the first wire pull or getting to the first daisy chain pipe lay or whatever. Like, but we had to do it. And it didn't prevent anything except my enjoyment of the first 20 to 40 minutes of the day.
Athena said, I went through that working on an assembly line, hand exercises.
Woof.
Oh, yeah, you got to stretch your hands out so you don't get...
Don't get me wrong. The intent behind it is adorable and cute, and they want to cover their ass is essentially what it is. It's not, we don't give a fuck about you. We want you to not pull something because we're basically employing a bunch of unhealthy people. So please, stretch. So we don't have to pay any more workers' comp claims.
Right. Yeah.
But whatever. It's like personal responsibility. I think it's so funny too because like working in the trades, you see these dudes who ostensibly want to keep their machinery in good condition because you're up and down ladders all day and you're carrying stuff and there's pipe and wire, or like you're a carpenter or you're whatever you're doing, you're carrying a bunch of heavy ass raw material from place to place and then manipulating it in such a way that you're constantly breaking a sweat. But then, like, as soon as you get home, maybe my perception is skewed just based on my small subset, my what do you call it? My sample size, all the people I worked with, but it's the only, I'll put it this way, it's the only job or career path I've ever had where at the end of the day, you know, when all the back doors of all the vehicles start opening and you can start hearing the tss of all the cans and all the bottles opening, and then realizing they've got to drive home just as far as I do.
But they've been doing it for 20 years or whatever, so it's like just their baseline.
Right. So that's the thing. I couldn't like I get it's out there, man, but I had to get out of it because it was getting too much for me.
Well, and when I first met you, when I first moved into your house, like the first week I moved in, you went for a week on a job. You were gone to Page, I think.
Yeah,
for a bank job.
Those were the salad days, man. If you're in the trades and you are good enough, if you are proficient in your skill enough to be trusted to go on like a week-long gig with just you and a small group of other people, or maybe just you alone, like that is the sweetest shit in the world. Oh my God. The bank jobs we used to have were cakewalks because we didn't have any foreman like barking up our ass. We had a solid week just to do what we needed to do. And it was almost like a vacation because kind of like a vacation because it was always it was exactly like a vacation because the dudes I saw every week were the same dudes. It was my coworker, Tim, who, if you remember the story, banged a lady 18 inches from my head. Mm-hmm. And the guy who actually worked for the banks we were going to, Mikey, who was a hilarious dude, salt of the earth, and also a complete disaster after having made some horrible decisions, but totally nice now that he didn't realize what had gone wrong. So it was just like having my family there. So we'd go out of town, and when you go to Disneyland with your family, you're forced to indulge in everybody's wants. So that's basically what it was. When I was on this job, we'd drive for 3-4 hours, go to Parker or Page or Flagstaff or Payson or whatever, or Bisbee, Sierra Vista. And, the 8 hours at work were just like, humoring mom or humoring dad. Mm-hmm. And then you'd go fuck off and go to the hotel, or, more often than not, we'd go to the bar, which, I see, when you're in a small town and there's literally nothing else to do, you get really familiar with saying vodka Red Bull and getting in love with that Rihanna song that I love so much. Because, I wish they would, it probably won't happen for another 10 years, but Cher's Believe is going to come back in a big way. Because the 60s hit again in the 90s, so what's... we're going to have to wait till like 2030 before Cher pops again.
A little bit longer. Once she...
9 more years.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Or if she dies.
If she dies, it'll come back.
Not that I want her to die,
no.
But if it does happen by random chance, Believe will be on the radio again if radio still exists, but it'll at least be on my playlist again.
You better believe it.
Bueller? You better believe it. Do you believe in life after Bew?
Dumb.
Dude, Bew. Who's Bew? Never said a goddamn word. Bew. So I guess we talked about some of the stuff on my list. Does anybody have any? We could do an AMA. Anybody interested in asking me literally anything? I don't know. Probably not. Dante's Inferno. I haven't gotten into... I've sort of fallen out of Jack the Ripper stuff too, but not that there's anything new.
Wait, what are they gonna do? Well,
every decade or so, another 100 suspects are brought into the fold. Like literally at this point, everybody who lived in Whitechapel between the years 1878 and 1890 could be considered a suspect. And I include everyone above the age of 6.
Well, and how do they bring them all in? Because majority of them are probably dead. All of them are
they're all dead.
So how can they be like, let's bring him in?
Well, no, you can't. It's just it's like a Rubik's Cube. Everybody wants to find out. Let me put it this way. We will find out the true identity of Jack the Ripper the same day we get conclusive evidence dinosaurs had feathers. And I mean all dinosaurs, not just the ones that we have literal conclusive evidence of, like Eutyrannus and all their Antarctic brethren. Never going to happen. But that's the thing. Once a mystery is solved, no one gives a shit anymore. And Jack the Ripper will always, always, always be the most compelling of mysteries because of a million different factors that just went right.
Yeah.
And by right, I mean notorious. Not right as in like, yeah, finally someone's killing prostitutes. That's always going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think part of it is the Victorian era. I think part of it is it's by the sea. I think part of it is the lore that's tied it to the royal family. It's got so many interesting threads that are all like just nonsense, like the tide of the Freemasons and the occult. And it's so far from reality at this point. That's why it's the perfect crime. Because every book that comes out, I've got at least 3 books that on the cover alone flat out say, I found out who Jack the Ripper was, and the rest all just imply it. Yeah. Unless it's the like the Ripper encyclopedia where it's just
Ripperology or whatever.
Yeah, or like if it's a breakdown of the science, quote unquote, and the artistry of it itself. All of them are, guess what? I did it. Woo! And they high-five no one, because as soon as the book comes out, everyone else who's already written their book or in the middle of writing their book go, no, that's bullshit. And one guy in particular has never gained traction. I've been pulling for him his entire career. I forget his name, but he has a unpublished manuscript that he's been pushing on Facebook for probably going on 20 years now. Vincent alias Jack.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, I still, to this day, this dude cannot publish his... I have published multiple books, right? This dude right here, I've done at least 3, right? Dude can't publish his book. I don't get it. And I've even personally reached out to him to be like, hey, what's up with the book? Like 2 or 3 times over the years. Because I've been following this guy for probably 10 years now. Because I found him through the Ripper cast. Somebody had mentioned him. If that's still a thing, that's probably pretty enjoyable still. But anyway, I digress. Multiple times I reached out to Twitter, Facebook, and email at multiple times being like, hey man, what's the sitch? Like, when do I get to read this book? And he's like, oh, I'm shopping it around.
I don't think he was really doing anything with it.
I don't think so either.
Because you can, like...
I don't think he has a book. That's the thing. I think he had a crackpot idea. Allegedly. I don't want to, if he sees this, I don't want to get sued. So I'm going to say, this is my opinion alone. Allegedly. I would say, hypothetically, if I were him in this situation, I would have come up with a zany idea, like say, Vincent van Gogh was Jack the Ripper, preposterous, and say, oh, now I've got to backpedal and backload my crazy theory. But in the meantime, it's such a great idea. I want to get my name out and associated with it before anybody else steals it.
Right.
So I don't think there is a book.
Probably not.
Because...
by now, it would have been...
Right, by now, and that's the thing. All the teasers and stuff that he would release on Facebook, sort of backing up his claims that Vincent van Gogh is Jack the Ripper, were all examples from his paintings. So it was like, oh, look, this obviously this means he's Jack the Ripper. Well, yeah, whatever. If you were into Ripperology, Patricia Cornwell did that, been there, done that already with Portrait of a Killer and Walter Sickert. Yeah. Because Walter Sickert was like this middle of the road artist who was sort of into the darker things. He sort of gravitated toward the underbelly like most artists of the time did. He painted prostitutes and ugly people and yada yada, salt of the earth, because everybody's moving, whatever. And Patricia Cornwell did the exact same thing, pointed to his art and was like, look, because I think he even called one of his paintings like the Ripper Murder. Like it was like an envision of Mary Kelly's murder, the last canonical victim that was in the bed. But it's like that was the equivalent of the OJ trial of the day. Like it was on everybody's lips and everybody was talking about it. It was in the magazines, it was in the newspapers, it was being shouted about in the streets. So because Walter Sickert happened to like take inspiration from one of the biggest true crime cases of the fucking century, like, and he was living through it, that would be like as if you like on Etsy, like if Etsy existed while the OJ trial was still going on, like if somebody had a canvas print, like a 24x36 of like the Bronco, and you were like, oh, look, this is a murder. He's admitting, like, there's a picture of the Bronco.
He hit somebody with a Bronco.
Well, no, he ran the Bronco.
Ran the Bronco, yeah.
Yeah, it was the slow speed chase of Al Cowens versus the LAPD or whatever. But, that's the thing. I think that's what's most interesting about Ripperology is because is all of the suspects, because there's a character for everybody. Like if you want the Masonic if you're a conspiracy nut, there's that. If you're a Royals nut, there's that. If you're like, because one of I think it was Tumblety, who was the doctor who may or may not have been a homosexual who committed suicide or was murdered. And then there's I think even Buffalo Bill was considered a suspect because he was in the area and happened to be looking for medical specimens or some other bullshit. Like there's no end. Kosminski, the butcher, and they're all,
plausible.
Yeah, because when you backpedal a bunch of, because information is infinite, you can build a case for anybody after the fact, and especially closing in on 200 years after the fact.
Right. And it's like every other person's speculation goes all
yeah,
jumbled into one thing.
It's just like dinosaurs. Like when you look at dinosaurs, how they've changed from their discovery to now, like the T-Rex alone has been a roller coaster of body dysmorphia. And it's the same thing with Jack the Ripper. Everybody loves a good mystery, and I don't think anybody really wants the answers.
No, because if they find the answers, then they don't have any work to do anymore.
Yeah, like when let's take what's his name? BTK. What's his nuts? I can't remember his name right now. But the guy with the bald and the mustache, and you know what I'm talking about. Like, he was a compelling mystery for the longest time, and then he got caught, and then they're just like, Dennis Rader was his name. Dennis Rader. They're like, he's a church-going dude. And it was like, boring. And it killed the mystery. And he's just relegated to just like one of the horrifying dudes we know about. But like the Zodiac still persists because we don't know who that was. And I think I'm of two minds about it. I love true crime when it's solved. I don't like true mysteries. I like fake mysteries.
Yeah, and like with oh my god, what's his name? He fascinates me. The killer, the glasses, the nerdy looking guy that killed his grandparents.
Ed Kemper?
Yeah, he he is just, I don't know. There's something about him. I want to learn more about him or hear more of the things that he says, because he's just so interesting when he talks. When we like watched Mindhunters, I mean, I know that wasn't obviously him, but
it's a really good interpretation.
Right. Yeah, and we watched a documentary with Ed Kemper talking himself.
Yeah, I've seen, you know, if you want to talk, if this were the old days, I've seen miles of footage of Kemper, and like you can even get audio. I'm sure they're out there available to the general public because they leak. But he does audiobooks for the blind.
Huh.
So I've never looked into getting any of them because I'm sure they're meh.
I mean, it's just probably just him, reading.
Yeah, and I don't care to do that, but that's part of his deal is like his intelligence makes him a compelling, because you think, and I don't know why everybody thinks that murderers are stupid, but we only catch the stupid ones. Like the smart ones get away.
Well, and I think a lot of people associate people being crazy with also being stupid.
Well, maybe not crazy with being stupid, but crazy being murderer.
Yeah.
Because they can say, oh, well, because that's the biggest, like, because you can't take it to a court of law and be like, I would like to plead the stupid defense. It's the insanity defense.
Right.
You can say, well, I'm insane. I wasn't stupid. Because how would you define stupid? But that's the thing. I don't think you're ever going to know. There's a lot of things that we'll never know. And why people kill each other is going to vary from person to, or not person to person, obviously. We're not all murderers. But from murderer to murderer.
Right. So, like, did Kemper just confess?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because he probably wouldn't have gotten caught. But he got caught on the last...
Well, no, he got away. Like, he got in his car and he drove away. He called from a payphone. He called back home because he was friends with the cops, and he basically confessed over the phone and then got in his car and drove back. That's why, his...
You think it was from, like, a guilty conscience? Because he was leaving and then he was like, ugh.
Well, he was smart enough to know the jig was up.
Right, because they were going to find him eventually.
Yeah, that's part of why he's so interesting, is like he saw the futility of it all up to a certain point. Right. He wasn't an idiot. And that's what's so... That's what separates the interesting true crime from like the ones that are based on money or revenge or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of the ones that we watched lately, like with that chapter, I love watching that chapter, but a lot of them are like revenge stuff, and especially like that one where I can't think. Never mind. Never mind. I can't think of. I feel like I'm mixing up.
Well, there's a million of them. They happen all the time. That's the thing.
Like the two businessmen, and he killed them in his office. The Asian dude and the white guy, and he killed them for the money.
Like Ed Shin and Adam something or other.
Yeah, whatever it was, and he was like, he pretended to be him on vacations and stuff.
That happens more than you would think. Like I'm so over the saying like, oh, truth is stranger than fiction. And even in reality, there are reruns. The amount of people who are like just pulling out of a hat, if you're a true crime fan, you'll come across people who murder someone and steal their identity essentially via their phone or computer and play them digitally. Like, more than once that has happened.
It's like them playing their version of Second Life.
Yeah, kind of. And the elaborateness of the scheme varies from person to person, but the bones are the same. And so we're getting reruns of reality. Like, there's nothing crazier, and nothing happens just once. Like, all of the things that... or the cases where the DA gets up, because I'm sure it varies from locality, too. But if you're a fan of true crime and not just someone else deal with it for their job, and you hear the DA or the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney be like, oh, this is the most horrifying, the most brutal, the most blah, 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 blah. And if you're a true crime fan, you're like, oh, it's par for the course, man.
Right.
Like, what?
Same.
You're a prosecuting attorney. You should be used to this. Like, the amount of just cause all the similarities... It's just reruns. It's the insurance policy or like the divorces
God, all the insurance policies.
Yeah, divorces are the craziest ones and the most convoluted, and all the murder for hire stuff. Like in a day and age where everything you do is monitored, like your cell phone pings off towers, your texts are tracked via the phone company. Yada. I'm not trying to be a paranoid person, but like literally this is like what the world we live in. You can be tracked anywhere you go. And that's also not just a conspiracy theory, but it helps your ass. Because if you disappear or if something like, whatever, they can track where you are and they're going to be able to help you if you need help.
Right.
But that's the thing, like the fact that with all of that in mind, still using that system of communication to hire someone to kill somebody else is mind-boggling.
And then and like not just that, but even like Google searches, the amount of true crimes that we have watched, people Googling either where they buried a body,
but that's the thing, we have a skewed point of reference because we're only getting to see the stories of the people who are stupid enough to make these stupid mistakes. Like there are people out there who are smart enough to use an ISP or like the dark web, or they can hack or what. There are people out there smart enough to cover their tracks, and they get away with it all the time, obviously, because they are not getting caught. We're getting the people who are dumb enough
going
to
the
be
library and looking up a Google map of where you dumped a body in the middle of the woods.
Right, yeah. And that's the thing. Like if you're just an idiot who happens to kill people, that's what's going to happen. And we're never going to get rid of that either. Like I love the fact that we have the science, quote unquote, of forensics and mind hunting and profiling and all that. It's fascinating.
I used to love that stuff. I used to want to go to school for forensic
science. But it's fascinating simply for itself, because it's not like one day they'll, like John Douglas on his deathbed will write the final sentence in his last book and we'll be like, found the cure and prevention to all murderers. No, not going to happen. No. Like we've already done everything to limit our capacity of murder. We've made it against the law. We've told people it's a bad idea. We've put it in our religions. We've done everything we can to tell people murder is bad, and we still do it. No amount of study is going to be like, oh, now everybody's on board. Murder's bad. Oh, well, I have a gun collection. I don't need this anymore because we're not gonna murder each other anymore. So I love the effort. I love the effort, but it's not gonna end anything. Right? It's so funny to me when people are like, oh, just a little more information. We'll find out why people like this do what they do. I feel like we already know that. Like, don't we have enough data at this point to know, like, if you grow up in a bad environment with abusive parents, or if XYZ drugs during not intubation, but what's the word? When you're with child, they do drugs. Whatever.
I don't know.
There's a word for carrying a child that I'm trying to pull that I cannot pull. But whatever. There's a million different things that can go right or wrong. That's what it is. It's like, here's the thing. Nature versus nurture, right? Which is it? It's both. You can't have one without the other. You have to have nature to exist in, and people to nurture you. So to say it's all one or the other is like saying, oh, well, let's, if you seriously want to sit down and say, is it nature or nurture, and think you're going to come out with an answer at the end, let us take a step back and first debate chicken or hen, which came first, right? Because you'll never know. Like, it's going to be a matter of opinion, basically.
That's true.
Because no one was around for the first time. At least they're dead, probably because they got murdered. True crime.
Chicken.
Yeah,
in a Bronco.
Well, it's all of it. It's not nature. It's not nurture. It's both. Like if you are in a shitty environment but have great parents, who knows? Maybe you succumb to the world outside, or if you have shitty parents and in a great environment, we've seen that also. So I don't know.
Well, you can have a shitty environment and great parents who then
It's a roll of
shield
the bones.
you, but they shield you from.
That's
the
not
shitty.
great then.
No, I know. I'm saying it's both sides. You can have great parents that raise you to what they feel is the best way to raise you, and then you go out to the world and realize that nobody else is like that, but not in a good way.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They're not great parents then. Like you say, the air quotes or not. I'm saying,
I
like,
guess.
my point of view is if you have legitimate great parents, not blowing smoke up our own asses, like we tell everybody we're great parents. Like, again, it's methinks thou dost attest too much. Like, if you're blowing smoke up everybody's ass about how great a parent you are and how great your kids are, that makes me think that neither are true, especially since I have 2 working eyes, ears, and a brain. But there's still people out there who want to tell you what they think the truth is. But that's off topic of true crime, which we weren't even on.
Well, we've gone through a whole bunch of your list just randomly.
Yeah. So. I mean, I guess.
We've been through a lot of it, except Christopher Maloney is hot. There, I used that Law & Order SVU topic. And you like Mariska Hargitay. And we talked about DAs, so that can get tied into Law & Order also.
Yeah, I miss... I mean, Cabot was my second favorite, but Novak, yeah. Oh, man, favorite ADA, sorry.
Casey Novak.
ADA, Casey Novak. They all... SVU is such a perfect... It's like the vanilla ice cream of shows. Like, everybody is perfect in their role. They're not too offensive. It's just sweet enough. Every ADA who comes in does the same thing. They come in, they do like a kick-ass job. Then they have like a conscience issue, or they get spooked by the amount of kids, or like they don't like special victims or something.
Or they have to go into the witness protection program.
Well, that's skipping way ahead. But like when they first show up, they do this. It's the same pattern. They go, 99% rate case closure. Like they're the MVP of their law category. They come in and, like Novak did, they take charge, or Cabot did. They come in and take charge.
They show up on the scene. They're like, what are you doing here?
It's the same roller coaster ride. They show up and they go, whoa, this person's going to be a real problem. And then, whoa, we might lose them. And then they go back into boop.
Yeah.
Status quo. And they show up and then they're all friends again. Like, it's a beautiful example of just like the revolving door of characters who just go through the motions and then settle back into place. And then you get to focus on the revolving cast of character actors that blow in and out of there playing different parts. Because in season 3, that blonde cop is a rapist in season 7. So things have gotten really bad for him over the last 4 years.
Ouch.
Or no, he wasn't a rapist. He was murdering dudes for cash. Sorry.
Still.
Or maybe when he showed up first, he was the brother of a victim? I don't know. If you want to go over mythology, SVU has the canon of SVU is an amazing tapestry. I could build if you're in the Discord, I was talking about building a religion off of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think a better one would be off of SVU, because I'm more intimately familiar with that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm too lazy to make a cult. I'm not going to do that. I don't have time to make an SVU related cult. I never ever got to get those SVU related Valentines either. Oh. I think they were on Etsy. Next year in Jerusalem. All right, guys, I think that's probably enough, right? We're steadily losing interest. I'm steadily losing energy, even though I've been drinking this coffee. I appreciate you guys for showing up and participating in the typing square and listening for as long as you did. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for showing up for an episode of this thing.
Another live show.
It's part of Everything Everywhere. I guess everything that doesn't involve a review or isn't classic FFOP. I'm calling Everything Everywhere.
Because it is.
It's just a catch-all. I feel like when everybody who listens or watches the old show and expects that, I feel like the new format, while keeping the same name, pulls the rug out from under them. So if you go Everything Everywhere, that's a show I don't want to listen to or watch. I want to have the classic stuff or the review universe or whatever. So it'll be easier to avoid the shit you don't want to listen to.
True.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you, the fan. Literally, just the one. I'm looking at you, Kayla. I kid. Thank you once again, everybody. You're going to see the logo once we're out of here. I appreciate it. Krista, say goodnight.
Night.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for this Flamingo Friday the 13th. Woo! We didn't even talk about Jason.
That wasn't even on your list.
I feel like it was too on the nose. Plus, we talk about Jason a lot.
I'm wearing the shirt, so that's...
He's probably gotten as much lip service as John Merrick of the old days.
And he's
or
on
Kirk Fogg. We haven't had like a real character enter our cast in a while, but haven't had a lot of classic shows lately.
True.
I don't know. We'll see what happens, what the future holds. But Everything Everywhere is literally everything because it's everywhere. Thank you once again for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time on whenever this is and whatever it is.